Hello, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough. I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's talk about YouTuber merch. Let's go back to a simpler time, where YouTube wasn't a gigantic monolith and was just starting to be taken seriously as a place to make money on. Back when YouTubers like Fred and Shane Dawson thrived. It was at this time these YouTubers decided they could capitalize on their success by making merchandise, often seen at places like Hot Topic, stuff like t-shirts and pins and small stuff like that. And maybe you'd get plush toys if you were someone as big as Fred at the time. You'd even get YouTubers like the Angry Video Game Nerd making DVDs of their shows. And of course, then YouTubers started making music became a thing, like the Fred Christmas album that I looked at. Trust me, that was just a warning signal for what was to come later down the line. Then, after YouTube became its own little media entertainment outlet on par with film and television, we then got things like YouTubers appearing on or even making their own movies and TV shows. And even more opportunities for merch then came abound. T-shirts, hats, pins, DVDs, albums, both physical copy and digital download, plush toys, vinyl figures, live appearances and events, most of which tend to be pretty awful from what I hear. And even people like the Odd Ones Out getting their own board game based on videos. Today we're going to be looking at just one of the many venues for YouTubers to try and work their way into other mediums aside from just making videos, written media. Yep, YouTubers even want to make their own books. Sometimes we get autobiographies from people like Shane Dawson, Joey Graceffa, and Jake Paul, of course. Other times we get the trying hard to be relatable high school fanfiction from people like Lele Pons, or Gabby Hanna's attempt at making quirky young adult poetry, which just comes off like a book that's just a collection of tweets that she wrote at 4 in the morning and then deleted a minute later. As much as I'm ragging, there are a few diamonds in the rough. From what I've read, the books from people like Rhett and Link and Jack's Films are pretty decent. I think it all really depends on the YouTubers you like that'll affect your outlook on the other media that they put out. The same rule applies to today's subject, Ninja, the Most Dangerous Game. It's a comic book based on the Fortnite Twitch streamer Tyler Ninja Blevins. Now, if you want to know my overall thoughts on Ninja, I really don't know how to feel. On one hand, I don't see him as bad as Jake or Logan Paul. That said, he's definitely made himself look like an elitist asshole on more than just one occasion. Whether it be him ranting about how gaming is a serious art form, but only real gamers play video games for a living, and playing video games casually doesn't make you a real gamer. Or reporting people for actually beating him in-game fair and square, or lashing out at kids that insult him while in-game, or especially for blocking people for simply clowning on him for not knowing what the Ligma meme meant. All of this ego based around playing Fortnite for a living. The thing is, this wasn't the first book he ever made. No, he made another one before this. Before this one, he made an educational book for up-and-coming gamers called Get Good. It goes back and forth from giving opinion pieces about the gaming industry and how you can become famous for playing video games for a living, and giving informative tips on how to do stretches for your hands and your back so that you don't cramp up while sitting at your PC too long or using your keyboard and mouse. Just a couple months after that, he then released a comic book about himself that he also wrote with 2 other guys, but you know what I mean. This is Ninja, the Most Dangerous Game. So what's the story here? Well, it begins with Ninja and some friends playing a game online until they all seem to receive the same package in the mail. Once opened, they all get teleported into a world similar to the game they were playing, and from there, Ninja and crew go on an epic journey to stop some ancient bad guy who's out to take over as many planets as he can. I would ask why his crew doesn't just consist of other Fortnite streamers like Ali A, but the thing is, apparently Ali A has his own book too. No, I am not kidding. From there, we get fight scenes, and teamwork, and betrayal, and I'm not even going to keep playing this up. The story is incredibly bland. The whole video gamers getting sucked into a video game world thing is not very creative as it is, but it also reminds me of another thing I've reviewed a while ago. Da Boom Crew. Yeah, remember that shortly lived cartoon about the kids having to fight their way out of a video game world? It's exactly like that, but minus the 2004 urban lingo. Instead, you got them using forced gamer terms like noob. 2 things concerning the plot that really bug me are the cliches and the lack of actual characters with everyone who isn't Ninja. We'll look more at that when we get to the characters themselves, but the cliches make an already bland story even more annoying. From one of the guys of the crew being the obvious traitor, and even down to Ninja being proclaimed the chosen one whose destiny is to save the world. Okay, I really hate the cliche of chosen one prophecy crap, and it's certainly something that Chris Chan did with Sonichu, but maybe it's not exactly like that. I mean, there's not going to be some kind of ancient artifact that gives him, like, a bunch of powers and stuff, right? Oh, there actually is. But this time, instead of a Sonichu medallion, it's a ninja signature bandana. Before we move on to the characters, let me just quickly talk about the one redeeming thing this comic has, and that's the artwork. The artwork in this is done by an artist named Felipe Magana, and it's easily one of the things I would call good in this comic. I found some of his pieces on his Instagram, and he actually has talent. His use of colors, his line work on the characters, his outfit designs, he does a good job with all these things. Most of the art here is good, but there are a few sloppy points here and there, specifically whenever there are wide shots. The characters always look really sloppy when they're shown from super far away. Then again, it doesn't help that everyone in this looks like either a rip-off Fortnite character, characters from that Marvel comic that everyone made fun of, and Ninja himself looks like someone's Danny Phantom OC from 2005 DeviantArt. Jokes aside, Felipe puts his all into this comic, and props to him for that. Now we get back to what makes this comic really suck, and that's the characters. The crappy characters. Every character in this comic is either wasted potential or a complete cookie cutter. Characters like Moss and Dozer are just there to be there, and they tell us these guys' relationships to the plot, but never show it organically. Moss is apparently a rival of Ninja's who challenges him to a fight as soon as they introduce him into the game world. Dozer is shown to be a friend of Ninja who helps him out of tight-end situations. Too bad they only show him like one page previous before establishing that. Don't give characters personalities with little introduction. And then there are characters who actually have interesting backgrounds, but we don't really get that much into them. Zephyr is a character who's been in the game world for a while now, and they explain that her and her partner ended up in the game world and he got ghosted. But she stays in the game to not just protect the game world, but also to maybe someday find a way to bring him back. That's actually an interesting story. Why don't we follow that? Then we got Keller and Liza, both friends of Ninja who end up in the game world as well. They go off on their own with some others, and we slowly see Keller go from being the friendly rival constantly trying to one-up Ninja to a full-fledged secondary antagonist. All the while, Liza observes his change in behavior and soon turns back to Ninja's side once Keller goes full-fledged evil. Much like Zephyr, he's probably the closest thing to having an actual character arc, since you actually see him go from a friendly rival to a secondary villain. Too bad the comic ends with him being ghosted. Oh yeah, you're probably wondering what ghosting is. The main bad guy, Fuel, is your typical ancient evil overlord who wants to control all the planets in the galaxy, and the only one who can stop him is Ninja and his band of rebels. And the thing with this game world is that you're not just killed and game-ended like an actual game. Instead, people are ghosted, where you're killed and then turned into weapons so that other players can advance. Because apparently this world doesn't let you respawn. But in all seriousness, Fuel is not that interesting of a villain. Going back to Daboom Crew, he's really no different from that Darth Vader knockoff from that show. Only difference is his head is always on fire and it makes him look like Ghost Rider's disowned cousin. The comic doesn't even end with a face-to-face fight between him and Ninja. Instead, he just sends out some minions to do his fighting for him. Then again, it does say this is Volume 1, so they might have them meet up sometime in a future issue, assuming there is more. As for the main guy himself, Ninja Tyler Blevins, even he's one-dimensional. I guess they figured they didn't really have to give him much of an on-screen personality since, oh, you already know him as the funny blue-haired guy who plays Fortnite. But they really don't make him engaging enough to be a main protagonist. He's a gamer who knows a thing or two about games, and he's the chosen one, sent to save the game world. Pyrocynical said this when he did a video on the comic, but it really does border on DeviantArt self-insert fanfiction levels. Chris Chan and Ebony from My Immortal would be proud, Ninja. There's even points where they could have something interesting happen, like hinting that Ninja could be ghosted and prove that he's not really the chosen one and that he's just as vulnerable as all the other players. That could have had some meat to it. He turns out not the chosen one, but he still finds a way to save the day and prove the prophecy wrong. But no, he's about to be ghosted, but Zephyr brings him back because apparently she can do that. They were making this up as they went, didn't they? And even something that should have been cool, like the final showdown between Keller and Ninja, is played off as cliched. Keller is ready to kill him, but Ninja takes the high road and lets him live. This comic sucks. Not like Sonichu or My Immortal, but I do want to say this. As bad as those were, I at least wanted to see how bad they could get, making full-length reviews of each of the issues and chapters as I went. This comic was better than those on a technical aspect, from the decent grammar to the decent artwork, but halfway through this comic, I went from being bored to confused considering how many characters and subplots they had. What I'm trying to say is, it's not as horrible as Sonichu or My Immortal, but it does have similar problems, like the self-insertion and making the main characters OP Chosen One Mary Sues, who can do literally anything and everything with no repercussion. And on top of that, the really bland story doesn't really do anything new or creative with the gamers end up inside video game world concept. So congratulations, Ninja Tyler Blevins. You technically made a comic better than Ebony or CWC, but that's more of a backhanded compliment more than anything. Next time on the Media Wiz, we're going to be looking at a movie I've been wanting to talk about for some time now. The Steven Universe movie. Until then, I'm the Media Wiz, because one art form wasn't enough.
Now go to your corner and fucking cry like, oh, please, Ninja, please teach me how to play. Meanwhile, yo girl, she found all you gay. Nay, yeah, don't worry about me. I won't spout all this shit to the motherfucking Twitch community. Meanwhile, I'm with your girl, giving her the D. Yeah. Relax and sit back while I do my eat. Saw that I was up and coming in the gaming scene, and he thought it would be a perfect way to just tap into another source of viewers by playing.